But do you know that judgment is also the interpretation of wherever two or three are gathered? However many of you know where two or three are gathered is in Scripture. Do you guys know where it's at? How many of you are like, dang it, I didn't know he's going to ask these questions today, right? Like, do we all feel that? Like, you have to feel judged right now? I don't mean to do that to you, but you should know. No, I don't mean to say that out loud. But think about that. It's a great example of how to study Scripture. When you hear something, go into the Word. Sometimes it can be that simple. When you hear something, go into the Word. So we're going to turn to that. I'm going to give you 2 minutes on wherever two or three gather, because every time I hear it, I die a little bit inside, because I know where it comes from. All right. Philippians. Absolutely not. All right, here we go. It's the Gospel of Matthew. Gospel of Matthew, chapter 18. Philippians is a great book, though. There's so many good teachings in Philippians. All right, it's Matthew chapter 18, verse 20. And here's the verse that we all know and love. For wherever two or three are gathered in my name, there, I am there among them. Wherever two or three gathered in my name, I am there among them. That is like the Bible study verse. That's like the life group verse, isn't it? Like, we're gathered together and I feel Jesus. I feel the Spirit with us. How many of you feel that when you read this verse? Hold your heart right now, because it does not come from there at all. Go back up. And where I'm going to take you this in context is just the before and the after. The title of this section in Scripture is Disciplining the Members of the Church. How many of you knew that? How many times do Christians misinterpret Scripture? Right? It's like, no, don't use it that way. But like, people have said it in this church, like in a like life group Bible study format, like during a prayer, and I'm like, oh, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Like, don't break the bubble now. Don't burst it. Listen to what happens. And I'm going to read from 15, and you're just going to hear it, because all you need to know is where this comes from. If another member of the church sins against you, there's judgment. We're talking judgment today. This verse is about judgment. It's not about Jesus is with us. It's about judgment. If another member of the church sins against you, go and point out the fault. That's contrary, right? That's also based on our relationship with God. They sin against you, point out the fault, and it's not judging the person. It's saying, hey, can I use this as a relationship to get you to Christ? Remember, everything is about bringing people to Christ. It's not about judging them and leaving in them that. It's about bringing them to Christ. So listen to this. When you go and point out the fault, so if the church sins against you, go and point out the fault when the two of you are alone. That's beautiful. It's a very nice thing to do. If the member listens to you, you have regained that one. Go Jesus. But if you are not listened to, take one of your two of your others with you, so that every word may be confirmed. This sounds like some real discipline now, right? Hey, I'm just going to have a person sit in with us while we have this meeting, just for a record, to make sure everything we talk about is handled, and we're recording for the sake of anything that might happen after this. Bible had it first. I don't care what HR meetings you've been in. It came from the Bible. That was good. I didn't even have that one in the sermon notes. Okay, here we go. Wherever two others along with you, so that every word may be confirmed by the evidence, and even evidence, this is great, of two or three witnesses. Now we have witnesses and evidence. I mean, Law and Order got their script from the Bible. Okay, here we go. If the member refuses to listen to them, now we're 3 levels deep. 3 levels deep. Tell it to the church. Church, you just have an announcement today about so-and-so? No. And if the offender refuses to listen, even to the church, let such a one be to you like a Gentile. Ooh, dangerous. Gentiles were non-Jewish, right? And they were outside Jewish, right? So that was like the other. Let them be the other. Many Gentiles did become Christians, but that's a context clue. Let them be a Gentile, and then here comes, and a tax collector. Ooh, man, the Bible doesn't like tax collectors. Truly, I tell you, whatever you bind on earth, where would that come from before? Context clue, bind on earth. Whatever measure you give will be the measure you get. Whatever you bind on earth will be what you bind in. Do you see how this all relates together? It's very interesting, right? How many of you thought wherever two or three gathered was a judgment verse? We didn't, did we? So listen to this. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth, the measure you give will be the measure you get, will be loosed in heaven. Again, truly I tell you, if two of you agree on earth about anything you ask, it will be done for you by my Father in heaven. What is the context around this? Disciplining members of the church. What do we take it as? Wherever two or three are gathered, Jesus is with us. After you've gone through 3 levels of discipline of members in the church. Do you see the difference of how we take Scripture, though? That's a hard lesson today. And I don't want to break you on that because I still believe that wherever two or three are gathered, Jesus is with us. It's just not from this piece of Scripture.